Welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. Um, so I primarily want to um encourage you ladies to avoid men who do not take responsibility for what's going on inside of their internal being. Avoid men who blame you for their problems and their issues because I think that a lot of women wouldn't want to think that um, someone like that can become homicidal and suicidal, but they can. So I think that it's really important for us to understand the precursors to a homicidal rampage, for us to understand the precursors to someone who is self destructive and destructive to those around them. And I think that a really important aspect of that narcissism and sociopathy is when they don't take any accountability and lack insight. When they don't seem to uh, have any empathy for those around them, that's a red flag. Just when I think that the bar is in hell in terms of the collective of black males, it just seems to plunge deeper into the depths of demonic um, mayhem, chaos, destruction, death, and evilness. Oh my Lord. I mean, there's a long live stream, and I didn't listen to it, but I did skim the comments, and to see so many little demons justifying this male offing his ex wife, the mother of his child, and then himself because he was hurt. Now, a while ago, way before I started this YouTube channel, I have had another channel where I would just, I have certain YouTubers that I follow. Okay, Lovely T's one of them. I have several, people that I've been rocking with for many years. And one recurring theme that always would always come up on Lovely T's channel is like these children using drugs and feeling justified because they're depressed. So I'm depressed, so therefore I get to use drugs. Like I have a pass, I have a reason to use them. And if you call me out on my drug abuse, you don't understand my pain. You don't understand my depression. You don't understand that I was bullied, or you don't understand that I feel awkward. I feel anxiety. I feel things. So I need these drugs to numb the pain or escape the pain or deal with the pain, cope with the pain. And it's sort of like equating, you have to accept the drug use because I have feelings. I don't know. It's like, what do you want to be, a drone with no feelings? It just feels so similar. It just feels so similar. Like, you can't call me out on my behavior because I have feelings. And they're not real feelings when it comes to this homicidal, suicidal male. They're not even real feelings. It's like narcissistic injury. That's the problem. It's rejection. That's the problem. It's not having the image that you want and being able to be in control of people. When you can't control people and you feel out of control. So instead of coping with your own internal environment, you want to enact your pain on other people. And what's really sad, I can't say I can't say I'm surprised, but I am a little bit surprised. It's just like when you think that they couldn't be any more demonic and narcissistic and sociopathic, they show you every single time. Whatever you thought of me, I will be worse than what you thought. I'll be worse than what you thought. That there are males willing to co-sign this behavior with their whole picture on their profile because they have no shame. No shame at all. I mean, I guess I'm glad that I get to see what it is. I would prefer to know what I'm dealing with. What are you capable of? Where can your thoughts possibly go? Anybody that could justify or condone that behavior, I wouldn't want to be around at all. It's absolutely disgusting, but that's where they are. I'm going to make a concerted effort not to say we, but them. That's where they are, the collective of Black men, because I'm like spiritually separating myself from that. That's where they are as a collective. A resounding uh massive, response of empathize or sympathizing, or rather justifying and relating to this male who is both homicidal and suicidal. Because if they just don't want to be here, I don't mean to promote self-offing, but like I've really been toying with that idea in my head of promoting self-offing. Like, why do you always have to take us out and the children? Why can't you just, if you don't want to be here, just off yourself? Why do you have to take innocent children with you? And the grandmamas, you taking grandmamas out, grandpas out that don't have nothing to do with your foolishness. That's why it's best to avoid all of them. The good ones aren't speaking up and calling them bad ones, so avoiding all of them is safest for yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Where are the good Black men to call out this behavior of being homicidal and suicidal? Where are they? When there's like one or two or three or four, who knows? But the massive of the collective voice is empathizing, sympathizing, and justifying this behavior, which you would think is just vile and disgusting. That's why co-parenting is just bullshit. It really is. It doesn't work when you have a narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic, homicidal, suicidal asshole for an ex. There have been so many women connected to these males that are sent, that are taken off this earth. And a lot of times they'll take the children off. Black men don't even want to reconcile what the hell happened with Ronnie O'Neal. Where they don't even want to speak about that. Even in defense of the Black boy who he stabbed and tried to burn to death. And Black men just want to turn a blind eye like it never happened. That didn't rock your soul? I guess you just don't have one. If as a Black man, if that did not rock your soul and bring you to your knees in a reckoning of knowing what the F is going on with your brethren, you don't have a soul. As someone who's very spiritual and empathetic, I can only think about it but so much. To think about that little girl's last days as she saw her father murder her mother and murder her and burn her alive. And they just carry on like nothing ever happened. And he's a good black man. He was a righteous black man in the church or the Hebrew Israelites or whatever the hell he was doing, quoting scriptures as he murdered his family. And now these narcissistic bandits are blaming the women for being murdered by this narcissistic psychopath. Good black man, educated nurse anesthetist. You got to get background checked to be a nurse anesthetist. You have to go through a licensing board to be a nurse anesthetist. You have to get drug tested to be a nurse anesthetist because they have access to all kinds of medication, narcotics, and what have you. So although he passed the background check, although he passes the drug test, which is randomly given by the hospital system, although he passed the licensing board, although he graduated, although he was lecturing in nurse anesthesiology, this good, educated black man that we're supposed to be choosing is narcissistic, homicidal, and suicidal. A domestic violence perpetrator. And the collective of black men are justifying his behavior because women hurt him. He was hurt. So I guess if you're hurt, if you have hurt feelings, you have a pass to do whatever you want. You just do whatever you want, laissez-faire, do as thou will. No morals, no standards, no code of ethics. Just do what you want. Take whoever out on the planet that you want. Just go on a rampage. I think a lot of them are seriously suicidal. Seriously. Because even sometimes how they deal with law enforcement, I think they want to be off the earth. They don't want to be here. You deal with law enforcement the way you do because you don't want to be here. You want them to take you out because you don't have the courage to do it yourself. So you go and do something stupid because you don't want to be here. You're suicidal. That comes with a story of like self-preservation. Anybody who doesn't want to preserve themselves, you definitely don't want to be around them. You definitely do not want to be around people who do not want to preserve themselves. Who don't have any regard for life. And it's obvious that you don't have regard for life because they hate women. The person that gave them life is where the most vitriol is directed towards. The bearer of life, the person that gave you life, is the person you hate the most and you blame for all your problems. The mothers. Hate mothers, hate children. What a miserable existence. The only way you can understand how they move around is to understand narcissistic personality disorder. Seriously. Because I know I didn't have any understanding of the way they are until I dove deep into narcissism and understanding. People want to talk about hypocrisy and things not making sense. Like, on the one hand, you don't like using protection. You are very promiscuous. You ejaculate in every hole you can get. And also, you hate children. You hate responsibility and you hate child support. And also, you shame women for getting abortions. And also, you think that women should get birth control, but also you think you want a child. It's all very contradictory, but that's the nature of narcissism. Understand that it doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to follow. There's no logic to follow. Anyway, ladies, please know the signs. Please understand the signs. There's been so many people that I've cut off, and it seems like it's for frivolous reasons, but if I get a whiff of, let me see if I can think of an example. Um, if I get a whiff of just anybody telling me I made them feel this or I made them feel that, or if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to feel this way or I'm going to feel that way. You're going to be responsible for my feelings. I'm out. I don't need to follow that all the way through the end. Healthy relationship is built on autonomy, people being autonomous entities that are not enmeshed or codependent upon each other. Um, Someone who is able to manage themselves, restrain themselves, someone who has self-control, someone who is not impulsive. Those are the makings of a healthy relationship. Because when these narcissistic guys love bomb and sort of are just all in and all in love, and it's like building, and I want to say, like, I need to do a little research, but I think one of the women that he killed was a preference. I think she was a preference. So, they build them up on these in really high pedestals, only to knock them off, literally. And all of this is a part of narcissism. Then and they are highly narcissistic. It's a wide range. Some are more malignant than others, but um narcissism is a major factor when it comes to dealing with them. It has everything to do with a lack of accountability and how they're raised with a lack of accountability, with always being the victim. So nothing is your fault. Everything that happens to you that's wrong is because of society. This is the making of a narcissist. And unfortunately, these behaviors are ingrained in the Black family, in the Black community. I was thinking the other day, like, have I dealt with white narcissistic guys? Yes, I have. The big difference is being a narcissist and having something to lose, and being a narcissist and having nothing to lose. The narcissist who has nothing to lose is going to be way more violent and way more homicidal. They have nothing to lose. Nothing. As narcissism can definitely manifest in different ways. And with some guys, yeah, do they have big egos? Yeah, they do. Do they like to toot their own horn? Sure. Are they like, not necessarily the most empathetic to others? Yeah, sure. But the socioeconomic profile of the average Black man who really doesn't have anything to lose, you know, is going to be more likely to be violent because what do you have to lose? I don't have anything to lose. and highly malignant. It's just, I don't know, y'all. I was just so disgusted to see those comments. It was very sobering, and I just need a minute to just I just need a minute. Like, I knew you guys were demonic bandits, but god damn. This isn't a clear-cut case of he was wrong. According to them, no. They can't definitively say he was wrong. And if you can't definitively say that this was wrong, oh my goodness. Let me take a sip of wine, y'all. I'm too through. When they released these pictures, I think it was a preference. Does anybody know if it was a preference that he took out? Does anybody know if it was a preference? Yeah. So this is the contradictory nature of narcissism. He said he loves his kids, but intentionally took both of their parents off the earth, leaving them to be orphans. Yeah, they say things that are very contradictory. And he doesn't love his children. His children are pawns. Narcissists don't love their children. Their children are objects to them. They use their children as objects. Um, yeah, that's the deal. They don't have the ability to love anybody. They don't even love themselves. They don't have the ability to love anyone. It's just a gross obsession and desire to control, definitely not love. That's the inherent contradiction of narcissism. I love you and I'm going to like take your mom off the earth. It makes no sense. You can't follow the logic because it's non-existent. They always blame their compulsions on feelings. Yeah. And the interesting thing is I think the wife was black. Their beloved. No, they don't give a shit about their female relatives. They don't give a shit about their moms. They're offing their moms in high numbers. They don't care about their mothers either. Yes. Yeah, this is a part of the contradiction that I'm speaking of. Men kill women and children. They don't get their way, having a tantrum about how women are too emotional. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Like, when you talk to these bandits and they start bringing up stuff from middle school, they start bringing up stuff from high school, it's like they're in arrested development. Like, I fucking moved on since high school. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I had little boyfriends. It didn't work out. I moved on. They will still cry and whine about some cheerleader who didn't go to the dance with them at 35 years old. Like it happened yesterday. Like it happened yesterday. Like you guys, you haven't moved on from that. But that's what happens when you have narcissistic injury and they they don't have the ability to forgive. They don't have the ability to forgive themselves, which is why there's so much stagnation and retardation in emotional development. It's just not there. It's like they have a tally of people who are wronging them. They have this internal, tab that they're keeping of people wronging them, victimizing them, and, wanting to get back. One of the girlfriends that I have who really inspired me to start this channel was the victim of a sociopathic narcissist. Apparently, she rejected him back in high school. He never forgot about it. He never forgot about it. went on in life, ended up getting married to a preference who could be on Who They Really Choose, an obese white woman, having some biracial children with her, who he abused. He's a sociopath. Like, this guy is extremely malignant. She shares her story. I will link it in the bio. You can hear her tell her own story about this demonic bastard. Okay? So I'll share that with you so you can hear from her experience. But yeah, so apparently she went out with he tried to approach her in high school. She rejected him. She didn't even remember. She moved on. She got married, had kids. He got married, had kids, and they got divorced and ended up and he pursued her. He pursued her for the purposes of showing her a lesson and taking her through the ringer with his narcissistic abuse. So the nature of these people is to keep a tally of everyone that wrongs them and victimizes them. And instead of just moving on and processing things in a healthy way, they're very vindictive and seek revenge. And if they can't get a hold of the woman who they perceived as having rejected them, then they could just unleash their rage on any woman. Any woman will do if I can't get a hold of the woman who rejected me or ignored me or didn't notice me enough or I couldn't control. And any woman will do. I'm angry with my mother. I'll just take it out on any other mother. Well, the only thing in in our Simmons is that the woman who was going to be receiving the children, she was ambushed. She was expecting for her children to come around the corner. I don't really think if you're a mother and you're expecting to receive your children, I don't think that you would think, let me have my piece in my hand and be ready to blast off. You know what I mean? And so that really, the family courts are really far antiquated when it comes to narcissism. There's such this political father's rights. The courts are afraid, a lot of the courts are afraid to be viewed as infringing on fathers' rights. That they're letting a lot of things slip through the cracks. I have advocated for women to leave the country. I've advocated for women to change their name, defy whatever order. If you need to stay alive, be willing to do whatever. When you're dealing with a bandit like this, if the court doesn't see what you see, do what you have to do to protect yourself. If your intuition is telling you something and the court's saying no, he gets every other weekend, and you have to leave your children in the care of a bandit like this bastard that kill these women, and the court's saying he's fine, and you're saying no, he's not fine, and the courts are saying no, he's fine, give him the babies. I'm gonna tell you, fuck the court. Stay alive and keep your children alive. Do whatever you have to do to stay alive. If you had to move to Zimbabwe and change your name, do it. Because people like this, oh, it's going to end like this. Which is why the courts in your business mandating what you do with your children is not a good thing. Yes, the children were in the car. The children were in the car. See, this is what I'm talking about, contradictions. And this is why you can't follow the logic, because there is none. He was getting the children every other weekend without any type of problems. His issue wasn't with not seeing his children. His issue was with narcissistic injury and rejection. That was his issue. His issue was with her starting to date somebody else, or, open up her options to date another man. And it becoming more crystal clear that she don't want you. And leave it to him and people like him. She's the cause of his depression, according to him. And you have to really read between the lines when people start using buzzwords and um, so-called wokeness about mental issues, and it can appear to be self-awareness. Obviously nothing about this guy is self-aware. He's using the buzzwords of depression and hurt, but it's all part of a con. It's not real. It's not authentic. It's not real. It's just a con. And an excuse, because he has internal problems and pain, to cause other people pain. I just hope our message can continue to spread to other Black women, that they just like stay safe and understand these signs. Because the most important thing that you need to do is, you don't need to listen to them, because they tell you that you only need to be afraid of people who sag their pants and speak in a certain vernacular, and have a certain level of education. Those are the problems. Those are the dangers. With these good Black men like this nurse anesthetist, you can let your guards down, because this is a good man. He's a good one. This is the kind of man you need to choose. Don't overlook him. No, F that. Don't listen to men about dating and mating and relating. You need to listen to wise women, which means you need to get out of black male worship, so that you can listen to other wise women who will tell you the truth. Women who are engaged in healthy relationships. Those are the best people to listen to get guidance on that kind of thing. Because if you get on that hamster wheel, you will certainly be chasing your tail. Because there is no aesthetic uh presentation, educational, financial presentation of a good Black man that is not vetting, that is not qualifying. It is the internal qualities and character demonstrated over time that would tell you. And unfortunately, the risks are extremely high for any woman, whether it be a Black woman or a preference, to engage willy-nilly with any of them. The risks are very high because of the constant behavior. And I think like the backdrop and the fabric and the foundation is woman hating, child hating, self-destructive, suicidal, homicidal, obsessed with death and destruction, and self-hate. Just in general. Like, what positive can come out of that? Can you imagine that psycho next to you during your most vulnerable moments in surgery? Ugh. Yeah, there's a lot of narcissists in the medical field. I think there's a book called The Sociopath Next Door. Maybe we could do a book club about it. But it talks about some of the professions that have the most narcissists. Teachers is one, psychologist is one, doctors is one. But yeah, guy's a total narcissistic guy. And ew. I definitely wouldn't want him administering my medicine when I'm about to go into surgery. He knocked up his Asian girlfriend but didn't want the child. Oh, who was that? The guy? Lawyers, I don't know about lawyers, but we can maybe we can read that book together. It's called The Sociopath Next Door. I saw the Asian woman and the black man were on the same page about not letting him see the kids. Um, okay. I'm not sure. But yeah, I saw a picture of an Asian looking woman. So I thought that that was the ex-wife. And maybe the black woman was the child's mother, was the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend or the girlfriend. I'm not sure who was the girlfriend and who was the wife. Oh yeah, they're the worst. Yeah. So in our Simmons is confirming what I'm saying. I perform C-section, so I can attest this. Surgeons are always the worst, especially heart and plastics. Yeah, and then I've heard people say, "Oh, I want an empathetic nurse and a narcissistic doctor." The only problem with narcissistic doctors is sometimes doctors don't like to admit when they don't know something, and the more narcissistic they are, the least likely they are to admit, "I don't know." And so they can either blow a patient off or, you know what I'm saying, like ignore certain things because they don't want to admit that they don't know something instead of just saying, I don't know, let me refer you to a specialist or let me refer you to somebody else or research and find the answer and just say, I don't know, let me get back to you on it. They will either just not want to admit it. You know what I'm saying? There was one sociopathic narcissist that like faked medical school and everything else and ended up, I think they called him like Dr. Death, and he ended up killing all these patients because didn't he just wasn't a good surgeon. He just wasn't good. And instead of just admitting that, hey, you know what, I wanted to be a surgeon, but I'm not good at it. So let me go into another field of medicine or let me do, medical research or do something else. He just botched all these surgeries and people were paralyzed and people died. And now he's serving a life sentence. Chris Dunch, I think his name was. So, it can go it can go either way. I don't know that I would say I want a narcissistic doctor and an empathetic nurse. I mean, I will want somebody that's a good human, both in my whole medical field, but somebody that's a good human that wouldn't be afraid to admit that they don't know something. Mokamami has shared the link to The Sociopath Next Door. If anybody wants to check out that book, it details different professions where psychologists and mental health professionals have identified a lot of sociopaths. So there's that. Oh, come through, S. Wiseman, come through. I already know. I mean, I intuitively know that he was a Kevin Samuels fan, but because he said, "Oh, today's your day. Today's your day." You know what I'm saying? Like that energy that he gave before he offed his ex-wife was all. It was very Kitten Samuels. Very kitten heels. I felt it all up and through him. I think that every single misogynistic murder, they need to reveal their social media intake. And I already talked about that on a different video. I think they need to reveal their search. I think they need to reveal who they're subscribed to, because we need mainstream America as Black women. We need mainstream America to understand the ramifications of this rhetoric online, that there are real world consequences as for Black women and children. There's real world consequences. And if we have to throw the preferences in their face, like the one that the Zach guy threw through the TV, if we need to use the preferences to make them understand that y'all need to handle this problem because y'all's daughters and cousins and sisters and nieces is getting um abused and offed, and domestic violence and everything else behind this situation, maybe they will act. Maybe they will act. If it's not us, but they see the preferences getting thrown through TVs, maybe they will act. Gosh, who was it? Oh my gosh, it was somebody. Um, oh my gosh, the person is escaping me at the moment. But there was somebody who, the guy who killed all the white people at, and where was it, Kentucky? The one who drove through the Christmas parade. What was his name? What was the guy who drove through the Christmas parade? He abused Black women and children first. We need mainstream America to understand. You may think that you're ignoring Black women, and you may think that we're not important, and you may think that it's not a big deal. You may think it's an internal issue. But listen up, mainstream America. If you don't handle the problem when they abuse Black women and children, if you don't rectify the situation, they're going to drive through your Christmas parade and kill your grandmama. Okay? They gonna drive through your Christmas parade and kill the line dancing grannies because they have no regard for life, and they're homicidal and suicidal. Sad to say, but maybe situations like this will shed a light into Black woman femicide. I don't know. When I tell you, I'm just like trying to reconcile everything in my mind. But I really think that maybe that's the next step. Maybe we need to make a link between, if you want to protect your preferences, then you need to if you want to protect your daughters, then you will nip it in the bud early on and you won't let it come to fruition. But I mean, there was one guy who came on Sinji's show the other day, and he was a Latino guy, and he was talking about, oh, Black men are the only ones I know that talk so horrible about Black women, and that they love Latina women, and Latino women are this and that. And he didn't understand why. And it was really weird to him. But he also made all these excuses as well, like, well, racism and white supremacy. So basically, like, Black men have trained the society into not going too far with the accountability, because then they will just say racism, racism, racism. Oh no, racism, racism. And then the attack dogs for Black men will come out more violently than Black men, talking about racism, 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 racism. And that's something that I experienced when I was talking about the making of a trash bag bandit and how these black boys are bullying and they don't have it, they're not being corrected, they're not being guided, the coaches are afraid of them, they don't want to correct them, the teachers don't want to correct them, so it starts so young with this like victim mentality of like, well, he has it so hard, he's a black boy, so I can't correct him. Oh, well, yeah, he's doing, horrible things, talking about black women and preferring Latino women, and I think it's weird, but I'm gonna stop short of holding him accountable because, racism, white supremacy, slavery 500 years ago. So I don't know what needs to be done to undo that, but it's dangerous for us. It's dangerous for us that this is the understanding of how to deal with them. And nobody wants to deal with it. Yes, people who lack accountability are highly dangerous. They'll justify anything. Yeah, that's true. Sad to say, but maybe okay, we already read that one. Yeah, I see it in the workplace too. Seriously. I see it in the workplace. Daryl Brooks, and it was Wisconsin. Oh, okay, Wisconsin. So the guy who drove his SUV through the Christmas parade of a predominantly white gathering was out on bail or bond from having abused his black woman and kids. Unfortunately, until women of other races are being harmed in mass, nobody will do much. Well, maybe we need to just make the connections for them. Maybe they're too slow to make the connections. We might need to make the connections for them so that way they can see the direct correlation. There's a direct correlation between you not acting and not holding them accountable into your women getting harmed. Maybe that's can be part of our broader strategy, to protect black women and children. I always inform non-black men, social justice warriors, to explain how black women manage to thrive under the exact same circumstances. They're usually silent after that. Girl, I heard a story on NPR. I need to figure out the name of this girl's. I need to Google this. I don't remember the lady's name. I really don't. It was a story on NPR of this woman who is doing this whole abolish the police thing. And she was on NPR, and the NPR people are eating it up because they're kind of a little liberal leaning or whatever. And they're eating it up. And she's talking about just a variety of things. And she's talking about, oh, the black community policing themselves and the police are just it was just kind of gross. I understand where she's coming from because like, been there, done that kind of a thing. But she's very male identified. I mean, like to the point where she was talking about being in high school and the resource officer, and her interactions with going to school and being searched and things of that nature and certain children going to I guess like school suspension or being like I guess hassled by the resource center, but she doesn't make a distinction that these are black boys. This isn't even you. You went to school with no effing problem. Why if it's such a black thing, then why are you getting good grades? You went to college, you somehow managed, but you haven't quite drawn the conclusion that the classmates that were causing all this ruckus were the boys. But she's so male identified, she doesn't separate herself from them. She's totally enmeshed. She's totally enmeshed. And now she's spearheading abolish the police. Girl, girl, somebody needs to take this little girl up underneath their wing because she's in her 20s. She's just either a college student or a recent grad that don't know no better. Okay? She do not know no better. Very male identified. And I'm sure if she dark skinned, they don't want her. The same men that she's sitting up here caping for and trying to abolish the police don't want her. Well, that's an interesting one, Josie. Maybe through the Reauthorization of Violence Against Women Act, Black women will get more protection. Well, you know what? We need to see what we can get, what we can get. Okay. We need to see what we can do. We need to see what we can do about that and making sure we have some type of protection. Women as we can reach, I think, with the information to help them become self-preserving. The signs of this stuff before it comes to fruition. Because once it's like fully, um, once they're fully obsessed with you and like, you know what I'm saying? It can blow up of it all. I would have never been going. I would have never got to date Worth with. I would have never got to date one with that nurse anesthetist. I would have never got to date one. He would have never had the ability to ingratiate himself in my life. Never. I don't think being controlled is being cute or like undesirable. Like I don't desire that. But I think that more women need to understand the signs to run from across any race of man. I'm reading the comments. Yeah, y'all, I don't know. This is like, it's very sobering. And, we just have to continue doing what we're doing. It's making a difference. It's just, gosh, it's such an emergency situation that it seems like everything we're doing, although it's moving, it feels like it's not moving fast enough. Like we need to move faster. We need to move more efficiently because it seems like the numbers are just going down. Like I feel like maybe we're a bit of a choir speaking to the choir. We're so insular at this point. Most of us are college educated and all that jazz, and it's like, what about these other women too? Like, I don't know. It's just sad. My nephew's girlfriend is pregnant, and I wish my nephew would have just got a vasectomy. Like, he is such a disaster. I don't think he needs to be procreating at all. I feel sorry for this child because he is trash. He's trash. His mom is trash, and unfortunately, he his formative years were when my brother was trash. So, you know what I mean? So by the time my brother finally got himself together, it was too little, too late. He was already gone. He was already gone. He was gone. Gone. So the cycle continues. I can't be bothered by Black women who don't want to hear this message because then I become the enemy. Yeah, maybe you're right. Well, I guess it doesn't hurt to continue to have a coalition of the willing because Lord knows I continue to broaden my understanding of things. So, although I'm in the space, I just, continue to expand and go deeper. It doesn't mean you're not growing and expanding and ascending. But the majority of our stories, a lot of them are coming from, women who are less educated, women who are still in the communities and know if they can relate with us or to us. I stopped bothering with liberal, non-Black men, less headache. Yeah, I was surprised at how many conservative guys swipe on me. You would be surprised how many conservative Republicans, the smallest of things can cause a domino effect. The more you accept less, the bigger the problem gets. Yeah, I was surprised how many conservative men were into me. Mostly, like, I'm not into liberal non-Black men either. I either kind of tend towards conservative or moderate independence. Like my guy now, he's moderate. He's moderate. He's not super liberal at all, at all. So, just like not like wokety woke. If I see a guy and he's white and he's like, Black lives matter, trans lives matter, I'm so wokety woke, I'm not interested. I'm not interested because a lot of times they're broke anyway. Conservative guys are the ones with the money. Liberal non-Black men are undercover racists. They are the real enemy. That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take. I just find them to be kind of like broke and dusty, and they think they're gonna get you with like, oh, be like Black Lives Matter, and I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. How much money do you have? Like, I don't care about Black Lives Matter. That is not my fight. You barking up the wrong tree if you think that's gonna buy you some favor with me. The only thing that can buy you favor with me is resources, bro. I only talk to women who are willing to listen. Trying to educate others could get you killed at this point. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Mammies are dangerous. You're right. Mammies are very dangerous because they will definitely throw you under the bus to get favor with a black man. Even if it's just a pat on the head, a mammy will be willing to just to get a slap on the butt or some type of acknowledgement, because she's so oftentimes undesirable and they don't even want her anyway. They will be willing to do anything to get black men's attention. Anything, anything, anything. Agree, agree, agree. Remember, right? I remember some liberal white men tried to tell me to put some bass in my voice because I'm soft spoken. The nerve. Josie, girl, oh my lord. Oh my lord. Effeminate white guys are really repulsive. Bass in my voice, I would have just like imploded. I would have quietly imploded. Quietly imploded. There was this one there was this one, will you, I think he was like, come pick me up or something, or like, I don't know what he was saying. Like, oh my God, how did you know? God, this went left so fast. And I was like, well, do you want to wear some lipstick and some heels? And he was like, well, I wasn't planning on it, but I'm trying to tell you, when you peep that, when you peep that role reversal, just know that your intuition is, I know she's divested, hypergamous, and conservative. Very interesting. Very interesting. Um, yeah, very interesting. Um, I have a lot of compassion for Black women, um, of all walks of life. Um, over the years, through various different, things that I've done, whether it be my business, whether it be a contract, whether it be volunteer work, whether it be whatever, I have worked with a variety of Black women, drug addicts, um, sex workers, um, women with 8 children, with 6 baby daddies, women who don't even know who the baby daddy is, women who are homeless, or, I mean, I've just dealt with so many variety of women, devout religious women, women caught up in the Hebrew Israelite bullshit, women caught up in the Muslim Islam bullshit, women. I've just dealt with so many, a variety of Black women, that if there's any um, compassion in my heart, is for Black women, and has been for many years that predate this channel by decades. So, I'll always want to be accessible and hopefully can be relatable to a variety of Black women. I pray that I can. Um, Being in the service industry, I have learned to have office hours. Years ago when I was working for Black women and I was doing a lot of stuff around domestic violence, and, when I was in the conscious community, we had started addressing domestic violence in the like pro-Black conscious community. And that was very controversial. You talk about controversy, and this was in real life, offline, dealing with victims of domestic violence, You would be, y'all, I couldn't even get into um the depths of things that I've experienced and witnessed and observed over the years. Um, but gosh, I think I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, when I was working um in that field, it was like it was just unheard of because nobody wants to talk about domestic violence in the pro-Black conscious community, but it is very prevalent. It's like little Africa within the United States and everything hunky dory. And no, it's not. Me, you offer a lot and you're highly resourceful and you're wise and, you know, a problem solver. And so people are going to lean on you for a lot. And it's going to feel like you don't have anybody to support you. So you have to identify people who can support you because the people who you support don't expect support from them because they're coming to you because they need something. Because I was getting burned out dealing with women, Black women. I was getting burned out. And so I really had to shift a lot of things around and really identify who are my peers, who are my mentors, and who can I, when I need something and when I'm stuck and when I'm stumped, who can I go to for help? Because everybody's coming to me for help, but who's there for me? And that was a game changer. And not expecting anything from people I serve. I don't expect anything from the people that I serve. Expecting things from the people that I serve just makes you feel more burned out and confused about where you can get support. So that helped a lot, with my godmother giving me that advice. And another thing that I implemented was office hours. Like literally like these are the times I'm available and when I shut it off, it's off. Don't call me unless it's a real emergency. And even still, I may not be available. You may have to get somebody else who's on call for your emergency. You know what I mean? Like, I may not necessarily be on call. If I'm on call, I'm on call, but if I'm not, I'm not. And I'm literally not accessible. And you have to do that to maintain your own sanity and to endure and to persevere and to be sustainable. If you burn out and have a nervous breakdown, you're no good to anyone. So you have to put boundaries and parameters in place to be sustainable for yourself. You have to preserve yourself. You are the valuable resource. And your first line of business is to preserve yourself so that you can serve until you just don't want to anymore. You can serve as long as you want. You can serve as long as you want, so long as you're still here. So you got to be here to do that. I'm always gracious to other Black women, but I keep my conversations with them to where they're at and assert my boundaries if their lifestyle might be a detriment to mine. Yeah, that's wise. Rule of thumb, don't give anything that you can't afford to lose permanently without reciprocation. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have to have boundaries on giving because whatever you have to give, The demand for what you have is always greater. It's always greater. So the only person that can regulate what level of resource and energy comes out of you is you. You're the only one that can regulate that. You can't outsource that to anyone else. You have to be the one to regulate that. But if any black woman attacks my character or livelihood, they may as well be a non-black woman. Yeah, girl, I've been called everything but a child of God. I really don't feel any ways about it. Like, oh, you're a prostitute or a gold digger. I just don't feel any ways about it. I really like, okay. It's just like I'm like, it's just like saying, I just don't care. I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't even factor that into my day to I just don't care. You know, the closer I get to 40, the less I care, which is why you couldn't pay me to be 20 something again. Because the level of I don't give a fuck that I'm experiencing now is quite divine. Okay. Anyway, y'all, hopefully we can keep the conversation going in the comments about this issue. It's so, very sobering and very revealing to see how these males view this homicidal and suicidal behavior. And so, it really it's a wake up call, I think, for Black women to really get real, you know, get real about um, their dating choices and associates, even family members, and anybody that has access to you, and really start, evaluating what's healthy and what's safe, um, and what kind of future we want to chart for ourselves. I think we've discussed a lot of ideas about, um, going forward and, soliciting assistance from other communities and um, spreading the message, um, being honest and telling the truth and being transparent about what's going on, and just seeing everything for what it is as we getting really getting into this reckoning, you know because now that we're not the cover, there's so many Black women who are saying, well, I'm not going to like make excuses, I'm not going to be the cover for this behavior. Just let it play out. Let the world see what y'all are doing, and you can deal with them. Like, I'm not going to step in the way. I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm not going to be the buffer for your behavior. You're going to experience the consequences of your actions. And I'm going to seek refuge, where I can, however way I can, so that I can be comfortable and protected by any means necessary. Okay. Call me what you want, but you won't call me broke. I'm trying to tell you, girl. You won't be able to call me broke. Y'all think it's noble to be laid up somewhere for free. Go on and do it, girl. I'm not gonna get in the way of that. But I don't do that over here. Okay. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll talk soon. Peace.